Welcome to the Mid Week Tease with me, Adelle Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Faith, who happens to be my personal therapist, who you and I now share because she comes on the shows very often. She runs our group therapy, and reason being, I wanted to share the impact she had on my life with other women, with you. And so she's coming up in this episode, and we're talking about something that I'm very happy is the key topic in our upcoming wellness talk: divorce care. We're looking at when the marriage ends, how do you find yourself again? And this talk is going to be led by Faith, who is a counseling psychologist accredited here in Kenya. It's a virtual, meaning wherever you are in the world, you can join in. And some of the topics that Faith is going to be taking us through is navigating grief and loss, because you lose more than the marriage in a divorce. She's also going to talk about letting go of shame and expectations. Oh my God, this is so important. Real freedom lies on the other side. And if you divorce well, you come out an incredible version of yourself once you've let go of the shame and let go of society's expectations. Faith is also going to be taking us through rediscovering who you are and rebuilding your support systems that may have been broken up, by the divorce, or now your worldview has changed and the people who were your support system back then can't be the support system for who you are now. You know what I mean? Faith is also going to be taking us through healing before moving forward. Hey, this is a serious one. A little later in this episode, you will hear that I genuinely think I moved on a bit too fast after my divorce. But hey, no shame whatsoever. But yeah, so she's going to talk about that. We're also going to be looking at, during the wellness talk, co-parenting and new family dynamics. So what does that look like? How can you take care of yourself while still ensuring your kids have access to their other parent? And last but not least, this is the best part. This is the best part, because honestly, I can feel it for myself and I want it for you. Creating a life you love. How do we do that for you? Faith is going to be telling us. So it's on the 25th of July at 10 a.m. to 12 noon East African time. It's virtual. Once you buy your ticket, you get sent the registration link a couple of days to the wellness talk. And tickets are available now. Just hit the link in the show notes. And they're only 1,000 bob. And if you know a babe, a sister in your life who would benefit from this conversation, share our wellness talk with her. So I wanted Faith to come on so we can talk a bit more about this divorce care thing and what we can expect at the wellness talk. This is such an incredible episode. Let's get into it. It's always one of my favorite things to have one of my favorite people on our shows to talk to you. She walked me through a very broken time of my life to where I am now. Faith, welcome back on the show.
Thank you so much, Adelle. I'm happy to be back, and thank you for having me. How have you been?
I have been really good. I have been good and courageous. I'm taking courageous steps. You'd be proud of me.
Nice. I am, because I am seeing it. I've seen the fruits of your expansion.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that women are eating from that.
And how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. In fact, do I say the hours are fewer than what I need to do?
That's good.
I didn't know I would get here. I need more hours in the day.
We call it booked and busy. You're booked and busy.
Yeah, I'm booked and busy.
We're really happy that you are coming back to be the speaker at our upcoming wellness talk.
Thank you.
Because it's always such a good time when you come. We learn so much. And I'm very, very excited for this particular wellness talk that's coming up in July, that is looking at, on the 25th of July, divorce care. So we're looking at when the marriage ends, How do you start finding
Mm.
yourself again? And I love this topic because Faith, that's how you and I met.
Yeah, sure.
That's how
At a
you and
place where you are very anxious.
right?
Yeah, anxious, not sure, scared, frustrated,
Lonely,
and I'm back
feeling
again.
very
Yeah,
alone.
lonely.
And look where I am now. And so if we could help other women who were where I was at that time, that would
Mhm.
be really wonderful. And so maybe a good place to start is just to reflect on divorce. Are you seeing a lot more divorce cases with the people you're working with?
Yes, I am. Maybe I can just share a bit about the different kinds of divorce because we have what we call the conscious uncoupling, where you're in a marriage but you have divorced but still living together. We have those ones now who have separated and now going through divorce. We have others who have divorced, and this is now the other thing where people have family has the couples have divorced, but one gets sick to a point of dying, and it is a divorce that never happened. It's not a good thing to divorce. However, when it happens, I'm happy that people are seeking help.
Yeah, I'm happy too because it's a very difficult journey to walk through alone. And I'm just wondering, even, back when you and I met and I was navigating my own divorce, but up to now, it's still so difficult to talk about divorce openly. Why do you think
Mhm.
there's just so much shame around it?
What does marriage give us? Because one, divorce touches some of our deepest needs. It touches on love. It touches on belonging. It touches on attachment. You are attached to this. It touches on identity. It touches on security. So, well, the society becomes more accepting of divorce. Many people still carry that internalized beliefs that marriage should do what? Should last forever. But does it?
Mm,
So, as a result, when a marriage ends, people often feel shame. They experience shame. They experience embarrassment. They experience fear of judgment. They experience a sense of failure. Like, I am the one who made it happen. Like, I did things I didn't do.
mm,
So they suffer silently because they worry others. What will others see them as? So, as what? As bad partners, as failures, as bad parents, as people who couldn't make it work. And maybe this is a project where you had been, everyone was looking up to you for it to work. Then you realize it has failed. So it will go now into the line and into the where you have grouped the other failures. Like, oh, I'm not capable of sustaining anything.
mm,
So there are these aspects of we fear because of the failure, the bad partner. It is I. How will I be seen?
mm,
Other than looking at what did the marriage make me? Having lost myself in it, either through physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse,
mm.
Yeah, so it's because of the stigma.
And I like that you talk about failures. We'll get into that a little later in the episode and also during the wellness talk. But I do have someone I know who is in an abusive marriage, but the reason or one of the reasons she's hesitating to leave is because all of the marriages in her family have ended in divorce, and she feels the pressure of
To keep it going.
exactly to be the one marriage that is still upholding the image of the family.
Hmm. At what cost?
At what cost? That's the question.
Yeah, yeah. At what cost? At the cost of her own well-being. And the divorce is not just the legal event. It is what you call the psychological transition from that deserves the same compassion, understanding, we offer other major life losses. But do we? We don't give it compassion, we don't give it understanding. So we start pointing fingers. So most of the divorced cases, most culprits are walking in it alone, are walking through it alone.
What I remember being so instrumental in the work you and I did while I was navigating my own divorce is working through grief, right? Because a lot of
Mhm.
times, even before I started seeing you, I used to think grief was only for death, the physical death of a person you know or you love. But divorce also comes with its own kind of grief. And so maybe you could unpack, what are we grieving when a marriage ends?
You will grieve many things. You will not only grieve the loss of the spouse.
Mm.
So there are multiple losses. So this is the loss, the loss of a relationship, the loss of companionship, the intimacy that you shared, the affection that you are shared, and even the emotional connection. Because one of the things we affirm is every relationship has its own low and up and down, but you're still connected to each other. There's still affection and there's still intimacy. So you will lose that. Other thing is the other loss is the loss of identity, the loss of being someone's husband, the loss of being someone's life. And yet, the cultural or the societal expectation is you're only good enough at some age when you have a relationship. That when you have a relationship. So the loss of identity, the loss of shared dreams, growing old together, retirement plans, family traditions where you show up as a family or as a couple, future holidays that you used to engage in, shared milestones where you have come from. Because, for example, if you have stayed for, even if it's 2 years, that 2 year came from a place. So there are those things you will celebrate about each other. Loss of security. This could be emotional security. This could be financial. This could be social. And social, maybe I can add to when you're married or you marry an extroverted person and you're introverted. They spare you the hassle of needing to communicate around people. The practical stability may all change. Loss of belonging, loss of familiarity, and loss of friends of friends.
Yes.
I'll give an example. We were meeting as couples, right? We had maybe a group of friends, and we were meeting as couples. So when we are separated or divorced, you may not feel comfortable attending such functions because where is my husband or where is my wife? The daily routine, the shared jokes and memories, and being known by someone deeply. There are times you would wish to go home just to gossip. You know very well every other person see you as a certain person in the corporate ladder, but there's that one person who knows you, who knows the other girl, the girl who just want to loosen up and be. And the future you expected to have, the projects, the investments, the finances, and the children. You may be losing the children because after divorce, you will not entirely live with them. They'll be living with you. I think it's normally like 2 weeks or 1 month.
Yeah.
So you will lose that, and you will lose the sense of family. And now the loss of a home. This is the loss of a home where you lived together, where that home had memories of childhood, had memories of you starting together, and the memory, loss of that memory. Like you started small, you grew together, then all of a sudden it is gone.
I completely agree with all of those losses. There's just so much you lose. I think another one for me was time, and I almost had to forgive myself because I kept looking back and being like, I lost this number of years, and I can never get them back. And just allowing myself to process that and let it go.
Oh, yes. Then there's the issue, a chance of getting married to someone else.
Unpack that.
Now, for example, if you stay in a marriage that it ended before it started, that at times we get into a marriage and we know very well it ended before it started.
Yeah.
So you will lose a chance, and maybe you stay in it for 10 years. You will lose a chance of having someone who would have gotten to know you better and would have gotten to share your life with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after it's when you start regretting, I wish I left 5 years ago. I wish I left 10 years ago. I wish I left earlier.
So that's such a long list of things that you're losing. So how does someone start grieving that healthily?
So it's the first thing is to acknowledge that one, I have lost. What have I lost? acknowledge that I've lost, acknowledging the losses and naming them. What have I just lost? Because you've not just lost a spouse. But most of us live in denial. And even if you are divorced, there's still a sense of, depending on who has filed for divorce, sometimes there's that a sense of hope that it may work, or we may be able to relate well, even if we are not in a relationship. So acknowledging that this has ended and I need to pick up my pieces and move on. And then there's the issue of talking to your friends. Your friends are not therapists.
Yes.
They will give you very many ideas. They will even tell you to go back. They will even minimize the reason that you have left the marriage.
Yeah.
Only that. Was he providing? Was he beating you? No. Was he sleeping out? Was he? No. Because we have those 5 maybe things we believe these are the only things that we need to do. Someone needs to do for us to get out of the marriage. Yeah. So getting help where from the right people and allowing yourself to work with someone. Yes. Also allowing emotions. Feeling the sadness, feel the anger, feel the disappointment, feel the confusion. Talk about the experience by seeking support. Process rather than avoiding. Reflecting on what happened, what was learned, recognizing that marriage has ended while still holding hope for the future. Then, one thing, treating yourself with kindness rather than criticism. Self-compassion.
I love that you talked about allowing yourself to even feel the emotions. Like, I think for me, it took me maybe 2 years to feel anger. I think I kept avoiding it. And then one day I just had to allow myself to feel the anger so that it passes, you know?
Yes.
Um, there's another thing I experienced, and I know a lot of women who are navigating a divorce feel this. We've touched on it a bit, but maybe we can go deeper. Is you feel very ashamed, you feel like a failure, you feel like everybody's judging you, and to be honest, there are people who are judging you. I remember not being able to say the words I'm divorced, and also because the process takes time. So you may have decided you're divorcing, but the court is going through its paces very slowly. So you're wondering, like, am I divorced? I don't have the the certificate.
Paperwork.
Yeah, so what am
Yes.
I? What am I really? And so, coming out of that shame was very powerful to me. But I wonder where these feelings of like failure and shame, could we unpack where they usually come from? Who are the culprits? I know family, church, etc. But where do these feelings usually come from?
Often originate from various spaces. One, family. Family where there are beliefs that we have learned about marriages and success. We associate every marriage as a success. It doesn't matter what goes inside that family. So we call it a close-knit family. Well, entirely, most people are going through what we call a close toxic family.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are the beliefs, the family, the cultural expectations. What are the cultural expectations from your, messages that good marriages last forever, that you're only good if you're married. And even when when you die in some cultures and you're not married or you are divorced, I think the ceremony is different. The religious teachings, interpretation that may equate divorce with failure, that you have to stick to it. Then the social comparison, comparing oneself to friends who appear happily married. You see now Jane, how she's faring, and now the personal standards. Personal standards are what you have excelled in every area, apart from areas of relationship. So you will stay in that marriage, knowing very well it is not working, because you have been known to hack things, thinking that you will hack the marriage, then staying in it and getting frustrated because of your own personal standard.
I like that you've talked about that because just to extend, and I know we're going to get to it later in the episode, is those feelings of shame, if you don't, and feeling that you're a failure, if you do not get them in order, they extend into your next relationship. I think there was a part of me, and I didn't recognize it. There was a part of me in my relationship that came after my divorce that overlooked red flags because I didn't want this one to fail, like my marriage had failed. You know what I mean? And you have to get
Yes.
those feelings in order because you need to allow yourself to leave spaces that you're uncomfortable. It doesn't matter how many spaces they are, there's
Yeah.
if you're uncomfortable, success is you prioritizing your feelings. So if there's a woman who's listening right now and maybe their marriage is ending, they're navigating a divorce and they're feeling that feeling of, I have failed. What do you think they need to hear, Faith?
The end of a marriage does not mean the marriage was a failure.
Mm,
Relationships can serve important purposes because in the same marriage there was growth, in the same marriage there was learning,
mm,
in the same marriage there was parenting, there were children for those ones who had children, and now this becomes very complicated. If you regret the marriage having happened, do you still regret having the beautiful children that you have, battling with that? Then companionship during during a season of life, that was then. And success sometimes is not measured by duration, but what was learned and how you grew. Because by the time you are leaving, it means you have grown. Maybe I'll give an example
mm,
where you got married to someone because he met your daddy needs, or
mm.
he or she met your mommy needs. So after working on yourself, or after self-work and self-awareness, you realize you heal from the need that you had, right?
Yes.
So you start asking yourself, then what is the importance of having this person in my life? Because
Mm,
they are not meeting my current needs.
yeah.
Yeah, they are not meeting my current needs. The other one is when you are growing, you may have gotten married in the same ladder, corporate ladder, and you are growing.
Mm,
Now, one of you grows in the corporate ladder, and the other one is still left from the on the a non-starter.
yeah.
So automatically, that will eventually something will happen to it, and you
Mm,
feel like you're not compatible
mm,
because of the dynamic change. So a relationship ending does not erase its value, by the way.
mm,
The failure of a relationship is not a failure of a person.
mm,
Like, yes, separating the baby from the dirty bath water.
yeah.
It is true, the marriage did not work, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure. Separating the marriage not working from I as a person, and also acknowledging what was not working, because it is not 100% things that were not working. There were some aspects that were working. That's why you stayed. You stayed for a year, you stayed for 2 years, you stayed for 20 years, you stayed for 30 years. Some aspect of that marriage were working.
Mm.
But one major thing maybe was not working. So acknowledging that and also realizing that I need a change. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person.
Exactly. And if you're listening, first, thank you so much. This is like one of the most important episodes for you to be listening to. And you want to attend our talk that's coming up on the 25th of July, where Faith is going to be digging deep into this. It's dubbed When the Marriage Ends, Finding Yourself Again. In the show notes of this episode is a link for you to grab tickets. Make sure you do and be your sister's keeper. If you know a woman who could benefit from this conversation, share the wellness talk in this episode with her. Faith, what I want to go into next is something that I find to be so shocking, but I'm so happy that I've gotten where I've gotten. So I was telling one of my friends that it is crazy how I now know what my morning routine, including my breakfast, like what I like to have for breakfast and how I like to have my breakfast. I now know that. I never knew that before. And I was explaining that I was born into my mother's house and her way of doing things. And probably her way of doing things was probably dictated by what my dad wanted. But, they're both not here to say. And I went through
Yes.
that. And even after my mom passed away, we kept the culture that we found running in the house down to what you eat for breakfast. And then
Yes.
I get married, right? And
Yes.
I tweak this morning routine and breakfast slightly, not even slightly, majorly, to become what it
Yes.
is my then partner likes. What does he like to find in the fridge when he wakes up? What time does he like to wake up? All of those things now become his. And then now that
Yeah.
I am living alone, I told my friend, oh my God, I finally know what time I would like to wake up, how I like to spread my breakfast across 3 hours right now. And I really think many people don't know who they are outside of the relationships they're in, especially women. Why do you think this happens? It's such crazy magic, but why do you think this happens?
uh, Long-term relationships, a relationship naturally involves compromise, right?
Mm-hmm.
It involves listening to each other. However, some people gradually prioritize their partner's needs over their own. I'll give an example. So I was challenging someone, a friend. Oh, we can't meet on a Friday, for example, up until she has known her husband's diary. So she runs her day through her husband's day.
Mm.
So she will keep it tentative until she knows whether the husband has something they need to do together on that day. So hence confirming very late after she has. So prioritizing your partner's needs over your own. When you stop pursuing personal interest and personal interest, for example, before you got married, you had a life away from the marriage. And I believe this person got attracted to you because there's something you are doing. If he or she found you doing. So yeah, so you stop pursuing those personal interests that you no longer swim, you no longer gym, you no longer go to the for a shopping spree. You don't go for road drives because once a road drives, they are seen as masculine. So you don't do that anymore. So you abandon friendships and you pick up now there's what we call the individual friends, the couple friends, and the family friends. So you drop your individual friends and pick the couple friends and also pick the family friends. Later on, you realize, wait a minute, I don't have a go-to person because these are couples and they are not entirely my really friends. You silencing your opinion. You had an opinion before you got married. You are assertive. You are confident. Then all of a sudden, you silence your opinion because you would not want to argue and you don't want conflict. Then losing sight of the individual goals. I normally ask, before you got married, did you have goals? Right? Yeah. Did you have goals? Yes, you had goals. So abandoning those goals, then later in life realizing, wait, I have been divorced. I'm divorcing. I'm being divorced or I'm divorcing after 40, 30 years in marriage. And because you are enmeshed in the marriage, you don't have anything to your name.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to your name. In fact, not even your name. People will call you by Mrs. or Mister. People call you, and mostly Mrs.
Yes.
Call you by Mama so and so. So you lose that. So over time, the identity becomes fused with the relationship. So I will be struggling later on in my marriage to know who am I without my husband? Who am I without my wife? Who am I without my children? In fact, for most women, if you remove their husband and their children and their work, then they don't know who they are away from that marriage.
Very true.
What are the signs that someone has lost themselves? The
Yeah.
struggle. When I ask you, who are you?
Mm,
What do you enjoy? What were your goals? Or
mm,
what are your goals? What makes you happy? Then you tell me when we, when we
mm,
go out, we. So it means you have never even taken yourself out alone. Dependency on your partner validation. This is where you have worn your dress, you're looking beautiful, or you have dressed well, and you're asking for validation. How do I look? And that
mm,
response will contribute to you having a bad day. Yet, you're looking good. You don't need then lack of boundaries or blurred boundaries, where you don't know where your mandate starts in that relationship and where it ends, where it
mm.
begins and their mandate, your spouse's mandate. So few independent friendships, you don't have them. Then difficulty making decisions alone. Well, I ask you for something, Adele. You are here telling me, kindly let me ask my husband. And it's something very simple. I mean, it's either yes or a no. And you're
Let me
asking me,
consult.
let me consult my husband. Let me consult my wife.
You have to, I think I love when you talk about hobbies and the things that used to give you joy before. You have to keep
Yeah.
those going.
Yes.
And I guess, Faith, in the wellness talk, you're going to share with us
Mhm.
some practical ways that the women attending can reconnect with themselves and their identity, their interests and hobbies, right?
Yes.
Another thing I wanted us to touch on is something I experienced. I cried many tears in your office because of this. And
Mm.
I finished all your tissue because what I didn't anticipate with divorce is that I was aware that my marriage was ending. That I knew was ending.
Yes.
What I did not
Yes.
anticipate is that very many friendships would end or evolve.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
my family dynamics would need to change in terms of even like my support systems. That was such a surprise to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't prepared for it, hence the tears. But like, why does that happen? Your friendships change, the final family dynamics are up in the air, your support systems are
Yeah.
disintegrating. Why?
Yeah. What happens with the divorce? It disrupts the social networks,
Mm,
whether you want it or not. So these friends, they may feel pressured to choose sides. Do I talk to Adele or do I talk to her husband? Do I talk
mm,
to her husband? Do I stop talking to Adele? Feeling uncomfortable discussing the divorce.
mm,
And now you start becoming an enemy and a threat to their relationships. And family relationship may also change, but we are talking about now the friendships. Then could it also be that you are friends because of the marriages?
mm,
As I shared earlier, so we have individual friends, we have couple friends, and we have family friends.
mm,
So when divorce happens, what do you lose? You lose the very things you gave time to. Well, you lost the very thing you need to have. So you lost the individual friends, you got the couple friends and family friends. So when divorce happens, the dynamic of the relationship will change. This is normally a very lonely period because remember, you don't have your own friends.
yes,
You
you
have now
dropped
to
them.
start cultivating,
Mm,
rebuilding your village.
mm,
Yeah, who is my close person? Who will walk with me in this journey? Because not everyone is willing to walk with you in that journey. Because sometimes you may have done something they have wanted to do in their entire marriage and they don't have the courage to do that.
mm,
Then all of a sudden, their husbands, their wives start telling them, wait, stop, stop, stop interacting with Faith.
mm,
Yeah, unless you want to lose your marriage, like she has lost hers.
mm. True.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pressure.
Now that there's been some space between when I was in that navigating that challenge and now, I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
thankful because it allowed me to see like the friendships that ended, it allowed me to see that and sequel Baya that maybe our
Mm-hmm.
world views were just not aligned. And the friendship had lasted because we had never had a situation like this to show how different our worldviews and values are. And so I almost see it as a blessing, like, okay, you want to have friends whose value system is complementary to yours. But
Mhm.
at that time, Faith, hey, it did not feel good. It did not
Yeah,
feel
it
good.
did.
And so
Yes.
for someone who's in that moment now, they're feeling isolated. I know I felt very misunderstood. How can they start rebuilding support?
Healing happens in connection. You may not be able to heal alone. So supportive relationship help people feel understood. They reduce the loneliness because in loneliness you think a lot on what you didn't do, what you ought to have done, and sometimes anger of having not done things earlier, or even regret or
Mm,
guilt. So you gain perspective from the relationships and build confidence. Social support is one of the strongest emotional recovery. How do we rebuild? By joining support groups. Do we
mm,
have support groups like now what we are having in this session?
mm.
Reconnect with your trusted friends, attend community activities which you had earlier maybe ignored, participate in faith communities and seeking counseling where someone takes you through what
Mm.
exactly have you lost? What exactly happened? Why were some of the delays? Because some of the delays would happen because I don't know who I am and have thrown my decision making to my partner. So I'm waiting for them. Do you know if there are people in the marriages today are waiting for the other party to file for divorce?
Yes.
Yes, I'm okay. As long as you file for divorce, because I don't want to go through there. So seeking counseling.
Mm.
And there are divorce that are informal. You don't have to have the divorce certificate, but there are people who have divorced but they
Yeah.
don't have the certificate and they have divorced. Yeah, so seeking counseling.
Mm.
uh, and what are some of the things that you need not to do? Because there are people. Ensure that you don't take sides. Yeah, the common mistakes friends and families make: taking sides,
Yeah.
minimizing your pain, like, oh, only that. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to heal and move on. Then offering unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
And most people who give you advice, it is advice because they are giving you advice with a lot of anger and bitterness and loudness
Yeah.
over the things they didn't do, they ought to have done, but they feared to do, and they would want
Hmm.
someone else to do that on their behalf.
Yeah.
Pressuring someone to move on. If I'm stuck, allow me to be, because you're not the right person to get me out of that space.
Yeah.
Criticizing the former spouse excessively. Yet there was some aspect of good moment.
Yeah. I love that you've talked about what the community needs to do better because I always say that bit about advice. Faith. Everybody becomes a therapist, everybody becomes a
Yes,
lawyer, and you're like,
yes.
I didn't know these people have these skills. And one of the things that I think was my saving grace, and it's like the advice I would give any woman who's navigating a divorce and the proceedings right now,
Yes.
is look for professionals to advise you on the thing you need advice on. If you need advice
Mm-hmm.
on the legal system, you need to be talking to a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer. If you need advice in like navigating your emotions, etc., you need to be talking to a therapist because
Mm-hmm.
you do not want an unhealed person advising you.
Mm-hmm.
Already, we are in hectic times.
Yes. You need to be very particular
Yeah.
on who you take advice from,
Yeah.
because some people are doing that out of anger,
Yeah.
because maybe your divorce has triggered their relationship
Yep.
issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
And insecurities, because I think also there are people who I don't know if if you've had friendships like this, Faith, and you who's
Yeah.
listening, there's some friends who are very good friends to you when things are going badly for you, but they don't know how
Yes.
to be a friend to you when things are good. I don't think those are true friendships.
Yes.
So if you're confiding in someone who loves and gets it strokes their ego when you're in a bad space, their advice is already tainted. You have to be
Mm.
very careful.
Yes, you have to be very careful. In fact, maybe they are celebrating on the side saying, there's a saying that says,
Mm,
sometimes the horses
mm.
sometimes get stuck for the donkeys to run. You know, where you are friends, but they're already seeing you as a horse who is moving up the corporate ladder. Your
Yeah,
marriage is working, and they are struggling a bit. So when yours happen, they are celebrating on the side. They are like, oh, at least this gives me time to catch up with her.
exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
So I was very fortunate not to have to deal with co-parenting. I am very
Mhm.
thankful for that. But I know that's not the case for everyone, right? So you're going through a divorce and there are children, and
Mhm.
you have to think about new routines, new homes. For the woman who's listening, who, yes, there's a divorce, but there's also children. What kind of makes that a bit more challenging?
One, the parents, and this is very key because parents come for counseling, but they leave their children out of it.
Mm,
Parents need to understand that children have their own grief.
yeah.
They are torn in between. Do I go live with my dad? Go live with my mom? Also, take care of your children's emotions. The children will have to have new routines. Take care of that. The children will also have to go through the financial pressures. Then don't make your child a spy. Don't make your child a spy, and do not use your child to frustrate the other party. Because I have seen that in divorce, where you literally want to punish the other party, but instead you are punishing the child. You know, co-parenting ran very well until one party decides to move on. Because even sometimes when you have separated and you have stayed for those ones who have children, you have stayed for maybe 6 years, the anger is gone. So sometimes there's hope that we can be able to have, not really go back together, but have a relationship that is amicable relationship. Then one party decides to move on. Then the demons on the other party awakens. So managing conflict, how do you manage conflict? Keep discussions respectful and child-centered, because children are affected more by chronic conflict rather than by divorce. Because there
Interesting.
are people who are divorced and they are still living happily.
Mm,
So those children do not have fear of losing the parents.
mm,
Yes, because these are the same children who come for therapy and they start sharing, I wish mom or dad left. Or
mm.
they also say, nowadays they say, my parents are better together, are better separated than together.
Yeah. There's something else that
Yes.
also pops up when we're talking about co-parenting. I've seen it with a close friend. There's guilt, right? You feel guilty
Yes.
um, going through a divorce because you feel like you're impacting or ruining things for your children. So you also go through the divorce in a very timid way because you feel guilt for doing that to your kids. How can someone navigate the guilt?
Yes. One is looking at what are some of the aspects that made me want to file for divorce or to go through divorce. Because these children, by the end of the day, the girls, you are disconnecting them from the family unit. But that doesn't mean you are disconnecting them from their father or mother. It's only that you are disconnecting them from the family unit. I may have a good mother and not a good wife.
Mm,
It is good for me to acknowledge I am living because of the things that happened to me in the marriage. Well, they
mm.
may not have happened to my children. So, in order for me to bring up these children healthily, I need to leave this toxic environment in order for my mental health.
So true. It's
Yes.
rewiring your perspective. That's so illuminating. Um, and and of course we'll get deeper into this in the wellness talks to give you actual tools that can help you manage that transition, especially if kids are involved. let's talk about healing before your next chapter. Let me just report myself. Um, and Faith knows it. Faith knows it. I genuinely think I moved on too quick after my divorce. Hey, I just need to say it because there's no shame. I actually am not ashamed of it. It almost feels like the safest thing to do. It's probably the most human thing to do. Why do you feel like we normally feel that pressure to
Mhm.
just move on quickly after the divorce?
One, uh, remember, divorce was what was the marriage giving you? Companionship,
Um,
intimacy,
intimacy.
affection,
Mm-hmm.
and emotional connection,
Yeah.
among many things, right?
Yeah.
So these things are missing.
Mm.
So if you have this person who starts giving you the four that we have mentioned,
Yeah.
and life holds a vacuum, what will you do? Because you don't run into bed with that person. You have relationship, a friendship,
Yeah.
you first cultivate a relationship, a friendship, right?
Yeah.
Before even it gets to a relationship, that this person supports you in one aspect.
Yeah.
They may not be supporting you in entirely everything, but you feel supported. You
Mm.
feel understood. You feel there's a listening ear.
Mm.
And sometimes you need to ask yourself, if you didn't get that, maybe we wouldn't be here.
Yes. True.
Maybe
True.
that relationship helped you get out of the other relationship.
Yeah.
But you also need to be aware that sometimes we can have rebound relationships, or we can have repeated unhealthy patterns.
Yes.
Then we can have emotional dependency,
Yeah.
or we can have unresolved resentment.
Mm.
Allow yourself not to rush the healing. Yeah.
And so then how do you know, like, what are the signs that you are truly healed enough after a divorce to entertain another relationship?
When you self-reflect, when you go back without anger,
Mm.
when you're emotionally aware of where you are at,
Mm.
am I angry? If you look back at that relationship, is that anger? When you look back and realize, oh, I'm happy I left.
Mm.
I'm happy.
I
I'm
left.
happy I left.
That's very true. That's really true. In terms of like, that's knowing when you are ready to jump into another relationship. But the wellness talk is also going to look at
Yes.
finding yourself again, right? What does that really mean? What does finding yourself again mean to you, Faith?
The person you are today, what made me happy? What used to make me happy? What are some of the things I find, returning, you will have to return back to your values. What were my values before? Reclaiming your voice. For example, you gave someone your voice to make decisions, rebuilding your confidence. So where did it get lost? Sometimes we say we lost ourselves. But in some instances, I ask someone, when were you yourself? And they struggle. So
Mm.
they even got into the relationship without knowing who they are. Reclaiming your voice, or claiming it if you didn't have it. Then learning to trust yourself again.
Oh, yes.
Like, this is what I want to do. I know I have fear, operating in fear. No, operating in faith. Because
Mm.
fear, we always have fear in whatever we do. You faith it until you make it, rebuilding your confidence, learning to trust yourself. Like, this is what I want to do. I know there are hurdles here, but I know I can see it. I can, there are things you like now, whatever you are doing, you saw it. It's a vision, right?
Mm. Exactly.
And you didn't maybe consult much. You just believed in creating a life that reflects who you truly are. Were you dancing? Were you singing before?
I love when you talk about trusting yourself because I feel that so deeply. Even trusting your body, trusting your gut feelings. When you come back to yourself and finding yourself again, you realize who you are and you trust it. Even the gut feelings, the thing Kenyans say, kuna kitu iliniambia, you even trust those things. I guess in closing, my question is to the person who's listening, who's in the thick of a divorce, they're feeling lost What is one thing you want them to walk away with from this conversation, from this episode?
That in divorce, you're experiencing the end of a chapter, not end of your story.
And for the person who's going to attend the wellness talk, what are they going to learn from you, Faith?
So they will learn that healing happens, growth can emerge from pain, that there is life, there is love, and purpose beyond this chapter.
Mm.
And healing is possible.
Healing is possible.
It's possible, it's doable.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, Faith, because I think first I can connect with it. I was there, and you can feel very alone when you needn't to be. There are people, there's a space for you to find healing. And as you said, divorce is the end of a chapter, not the end of your life. So, Faith, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on this episode and for being our speaker on the upcoming wellness talk.
Thank you too.
And so, if you're listening to this and you want to book your ticket, what you need to do is check out the show notes. It's on the 25th of July. It is at 10 a.m. It's virtual. So wherever you are in the world, you can join us. Faith will be leading us through what she's talked about in depth and also giving you practical tools on how to start healing after your divorce, how to navigate co-parenting, how to rebuild your life, and when will you know that you are ready to, date again? What does that look like? And so much more. At all our wellness talks, you're able to ask questions anonymously. So don't worry if you feel like you're not ready to talk about certain things publicly. We have a hotline where you can still ask Faith questions anonymously. So hit the link in the show notes, and I hope to see you at our next wellness talk on the 25th of July. Thanks for listening to the Mid Week Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.